feel like working backwards today, so we'll have a lot of questions, and this will be like Jeopardy. You have to come up with the answer. Is that how Jeopardy works? Something like that. Miriam, in that second scripture, is singing Moses' song about God on the side of the powerless, throwing down the powerful. Does that remind you of anyone else in the Bible? That kind of song, that there's that theme, another character, another woman who sang the same kind of song, maybe filling the hungry with good things and sending the rich away empty? Mary. Daniel got that question. He's here every week, everybody. I guess that's what happens. Mary, after she had baby Jesus, sings a song just like Miriam did, after Miriam had her own sea of reeds and getting away from the Egyptians. Now, both songs are about a God who takes down the strong and selfish and oppressive, and a God who shows love for the weak and transforms history and challenges injustice everywhere. Can you think of anything else similar between those two? Mary and Miriam?
It's the same name, isn't it?
I knew someone would get that. I do it and you've only been here one Christmas, but every year I try to tell you it's the same name. So they both save a baby. Mary saves a baby from from Herod doing what he's going to do, and Miriam saves a baby from Pharaoh doing what he's going to do. But it's the same name. Miriam is Hebrew, Mary is Latin, and who remembers, other than Al, what the name means? Rebellious. Rebellious. These women are named rebellious. Does that strike you as a positive image? Would it be if it was a man? Would it be more positive? Would it be forgiven? Do you think anyone ever looked on Mary or Miriam and their little antics and thought, you nasty women, or anything worse than that? Do you think anyone told them to sit down? And nevertheless, they persisted, thank goodness. Just wondering aloud, maybe Mary's parents, many, many, many generations forward, named her that after Miriam. Do you think it's possible that they wanted their daughter Mary to grow up with bravery and a heart full of justice and ready to do anything to help people in need? Do you think Mary, the mother of Jesus, thought of her namesake when she brought her child into a dangerous world? Is it possible that her song about Jesus tearing down the abusive powers of the world, just a wild guess, but could that song have been part of an old lullaby, maybe new words onto an old tune that had been passed down by rebellious women ever since Miriam sang it that day? And maybe even a wilder guess, one possibility is that the Bible records this song the way that Dan read it because Miriam just got one line and Moses sang the whole thing. She just echoed it. Or maybe another possibility, moms, you ever sing songs around your kids? And then all of a sudden your kids start singing them back to you at some point. And it's not like they ever learned it, they just kind of soaked it in, and all of a sudden they're singing it. And maybe if you've got an older sister running around, and a little brother, and an older sister sings that song, and the little brother, maybe years later, it's still in there somewhere. Maybe Miriam had been encouraging Moses and supporting him through an estranged childhood, growing up between his family and his adopted family, through a tumultuous youth when he even killed a man in a fit of indignation, through his combative adulthood when he was arguing with his father-in-law and his followers, and now finally Miriam sees Moses answering his calling. He became the man she always knew he could be. Finally now she looks at that spirit that only she had been able to see through all the bluster. Siblings have a way of seeing with those eyes. Finally she's proud, and she knows her parents would have been proud too. And so when Moses sings the old song, "The Lord is my strength, the Lord is my strength and my song, God has given me victory," maybe the older sister looks on with such delight that she can only get one verse out before she stops with her tambourine and cries. Or for Mary, she kept all these things in her heart. Mothers, sisters, teachers, coaches, bosses, you all know what it's like somewhere when you see one of your kids do well, and you know you had a little piece of that you put a seed in there that's finally sprouting. What a blessing. Now Barbara Bush, God rest her pearls, she watched some of hers do. Did anyone wear pearls today? Not one. You did? Where are they at? Oh, on your arm. Okay, yeah. Barbara, of course, watched some people do well in her family, and I'm sure she had those moments of pride for her husband and her sons. She taught us, every time someone important in culture dies, we either play a song or take a quote. And she said, some people give time, some money, some their skills and connections, some literally give their blood, but everybody has something to give. Everybody has something to give. Now Moses in this story, he gives his skills and his connections. Moses was maybe the one person who could do this who was alive at his time. A, he had connections with the Egyptian courts and leaders. Very few people had that. B, he had connections with the Hebrew people. Very few people had that. C, he had a vision of justice for how to help his people. And D, after he had been banished, when he was working his way into a new family, his new father-in-law made him lead the sheep out in the wilds, which is the boy's job. So he actually knew how to find water in the middle of this wilderness. So if you imagine a Venn diagram with those four things, there's one person in the middle with those four skills. One person, one perfect person who can tell Pharaoh to let my people go and then lead them where God wanted. And that is remarkable, and it's worth remembering that Moses was that person. But Miriam, when she went down to the river looking at that baby, if she was like 13 or 14, the authorities would have seen her and thought, that's probably her baby. That's the age that things happened back then. But she wasn't that old, so she was there not endangering Moses. But if she had been like 5 or 6, would she have been responsible enough to tell someone what to do to protect her little brother? Probably not. So she was right in that age group. C, as she watched Moses struggle with attachment issues as a kid and become so petulant as a young man, most people would have given up, but she stayed supportive. And D, as Moses continued to stretch the trust of his people with crazy ideas and wild expectations, most would have worn thin, but she was patient. And so this Venn diagram of characteristics, she may have been the only person there able to care for Moses through this trial. She was the perfect person that God sent to carry him forward. And that is remarkable and worth remembering because everybody has something to give. And here's the deal. In the basket story, Miriam saves Moses from the waters of the Nile. In the song story, Miriam celebrates God saving them all with the waters of the sea. She shows up exactly one more time in the Bible, and she is talking to Moses as the people are complaining about being hungry and thirsty. So she is always connected with water. Her presence, her gift, always has something to do with water. And now we face a time when the waters of our world are worth saving and need saving. We are called to give something to God's creation because it is the thing in a basket now. It is the one being chased in perilous times. And not just oppressive governments and profligate companies threatening our resources, but so many people complain, as Moses' followers did, about the sacrifices they are called on to make, in this case, for the environment. And so today we are Miriam, saving waters from ourselves. Today we are called to be rebellious, to give something back to a planet in trouble. It is we who are called to be brave and just and ready to do more, to stand up to the abuses. It is we who are called to nurture the world changers. It is we who are called to sing and celebrate when we find peace. It is we, rebellious Miriams, answering God's call however we can with whatever we have to give. And may it be so.